we hear this a lot, right? That youth are our future, and where
True.
we're going. When you start to have real conversations with youth, you know that they're thinking a lot deeper than people that give them credit for. But yeah, it's just like they actually think about life in the world. And so if you talk to them, you'll hear their ideas. And so what keeps me going is that they are our future. And so
Mhm.
if you have some conversations with these youth, you'll find out that we're not, people say, oh, we don't know what they're going to do, like who's going to be running the government, what's going to be happening with, these youth don't care, or these youth don't. No, they are very thoughtful, they are
Yeah.
thinking, they are very active, they are listening, and they're thinking about what they would do in that seat. And some of them are doing things right now to make a difference.
Welcome back to another episode here on the Hart Hustle Podcast. Cindy,
Yes.
we're just going to get right into it. Take
All
us
right.
back. How does someone go from pre-med to purpose-driven nonprofit leader? What flipped the switch for you?
Yeah. So what really flipped the switch is that I always wanted to help people, but really understanding how I could best do that. And clearly, it was not medicine. I think, to be perfectly candid, I had an aversion to a lot of blood. And so that was really not what I really found out that I wanted to do. It was more thinking that this would be a means, one, to help people, but also to be, financially stable. And then the more I matured through the process, I realized that I wanted to help people, but I wanted to help them in a totally different way than I had started my journey in the beginning.
I love this. And now
Mm-hmm.
you're leading New City Kids.
Mm-hmm.
Why this mission? Why
Yeah.
about loving kids for change called your name?
Mm-hmm. Kids are incredible. Young people are incredible. And, I've spent most of my career either working with directly in the beginning of my career or working for. So being at the table where decisions are made about youth and children.
Mhm.
And that is a passion of mine. I think that they have a lot of the solutions to some of the needs that we have even right now. They do great things in the world. And I think giving them the
Mhm.
platform to become their best selves is an important part of what I believe I should be doing here in the world.
I love it. I love it. And
Mm-hmm.
you've been on both sides. You've been on the for-profit, you've been on the nonprofit. Is
Mm-hmm.
there any common leadership thread that really stuck with you no matter the title?
Mm-hmm. It is allowing people to be their best self. So no matter where people are, no matter who you're working with, whether you're working in the nonprofit or you're working in the for-profit, if
Mhm.
people can come into an environment where they feel like they are appreciated and needed, then you're going to get the best work out of them. So regardless of whether it's for-profit or nonprofit, it's like really allowing people to be their best self, not to create clones, but for people to be their authentic selves in an environment and using their talents to the best of their abilities.
Mhm. I feel like we do get that in the nonprofit side. You said authentic self. It's
Mm-hmm.
so crazy. First thing we say is, hey, let's be authentic selves today, right? Like it's so important that you are really
Mm-hmm.
at all times,
Mm-hmm.
like show people who you are. I've always felt like people do business with people,
Mm-hmm.
so even in the nonprofit space, like who
Yeah.
you are, who you come across with, not just
Mm-hmm.
at the table where you're making decisions, but even on the outside, people see
Yeah.
that. And
Mm-hmm.
people, genuinely would continue to just follow that great leader, which is what
Mm-hmm.
you've done, for so long.
Yeah.
Is there do you remember that moment that made you realize like I'm here to really serve people, not just
Mm-hmm.
systems?
I think I realized that probably in my early 20s. I
Mm,
realized that um, that's what I'm here for. That's where I made the change, a
mhm,
little sooner in my major, but also in the work that I do. And I find it fulfilling, right? Right. So that moment when
mhm,
you just realize that this is where it's at for me, and this is where I find my joy.
mhm. I love that. I love that. And for those that are listening in and they don't know what New City Kids, what it
Mm-hmm.
is, they're
Yeah.
hearing it for the first time. What
Mm-hmm.
do they need to know about your work and why
Mm-hmm.
New City Kids even matter?
Well, New City Kids is transformational because what we do when we talk about loving kids for change,
Mm-hmm.
we're actually a youth, a teen development organization, but we do it with through after school center, which means that we service youth from grades first through eighth grade. But what's unique about us is that we actually hire the teens to work with the youth. So we work with the teens, we help them with their homework. We help them learn musical instruments. We help them with um, doing college tours, FAFSA, like all the different things that teens really need. But as we do that and as we develop their leadership, they actually take that leadership and they work with the first through eighth graders. And it's amazing, when they come into the organization, sometimes they view it as just a job, but by the end, you'll never walk into a New City Kids and not have a teenager put their hand out and say, "Hi, how are you?" Like, give you their name and ask you about you. They learn so much from day one to sometimes year three and sometimes year four, but they learn
Mm-hmm.
so much, and so it's youth development at its best, and it starts early. So our youth, first through eighth graders, become our teens who we employ as our teen life interns, who
I like
become
that.
our alumni, who go into their communities and make great difference within their communities.
Yeah, you created a good cycle within what you guys were doing,
Hmm.
and I want to kind of go back to something on. No kid will not extend their hand, shake your hand with
Hmm.
confidence,
With confidence.
right? Introduce themselves and ask you how are you doing. I think that's so important. Like,
Hmm.
why? What made you tell me that part? Because to
Hmm.
me, I think it shows the confidence, right? It
Hmm.
shows respect. It shows confidence. It kind of demands respects
Hmm.
as well. So
Yep.
why you tell me that? Why is that so important?
Because they step into the moment. They're not afraid. And that's one of the
Yeah.
things, they don't fear because you are an adult, because you are in a different age range, that they shouldn't be talking to you. They think that they have something to offer. They know that they believe you do, and they want
Mhm.
to engage with you. And so they actually are understanding and harnessing their own power. And so it's amazing when you see it.
I like that. I like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had to call. I noticed that you slipped that in. I'm like, wait a minute. I know why I'm so excited about that, but I want to know
Hmm.
what you're going with
Yeah.
that. What's even cooler is that you're in 4 cities. Like,
Hmm.
what what does the heartbeat that stays consistent no matter the zip code? Like, you're in four
Hmm.
cities now. What is that heartbeat?
Yep. It is loving kids for change, because we believe when we create a community of love, that just resonates everywhere. And so, we have 4 events a year, and at each location has an event. And every youth will say, New City Kids is a community. And that's important because everybody needs some place where they feel accepted,
Hmm.
where they feel encouraged, where they get true feedback. Like,
Yeah,
keep it real, keep it honest,
absolutely.
um, and where they can fail forward. So, and still be cared for and loved, and that's important to us, and that's important to the youth, and that keeps them coming back.
How do you get kids to believe in themselves before
Hmm.
the world even knows their name? I think that's a
Hmm.
huge thing within our teens and our youth.
Giving them responsibilities and helping them to succeed. So giving them the proper
Mhm.
training, giving them the responsibilities, and then stepping back, not out of the picture, but far enough back where if they need assistance, we can step in, not to take over, but to give guidance. And so they build their confidence as we do that with young people.
Love that. Love that. And I remember you telling me that leadership doesn't require a title. I love
Mhm.
that as well.
Yeah.
Break that down for us. What is that?
Hmm.
What does that real leadership look like in
Hmm.
action?
Leadership looks like confidence. It looks like knowing who you are, what you're supposed to be doing, and leading no matter what your title is. That I step in, I own what I do every day. And I don't need a title to define me. I know that when I come in, whether I'm the first person you see in an organization, any organization, is that I own who I am and I show up
Mhm.
every day.
I like that. Listen, exactly. Lead by example. All
Mm-hmm.
right. You already leading by example.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you build that culture as well. You
Yes.
know, how do you build a culture where people don't just show up, but they
Mm-hmm.
actually grow up? Like,
Yeah.
Where does that come from? How do you get that together?
Is that you care about people. You let them know that. You give them the tools that they need to grow. You're not afraid to have tough conversations because you're not looking to destroy people or to make them feel less than. You're looking to give them the tools that they need to take themselves to the next level. And it's not so much about telling people, it's understanding who they are. When I say, well, bring your best self, you come to work every day, you bring who you are to that environment, but you also bring your dreams and your ambitions and where you want to go. And when you start to have conversations to understand who people are and where they want to go, and you begin to connect that way, people feel appreciated, which means when people feel appreciated, I mean, we all can probably think of examples, they move differently.
Mhm.
And so it's
Yeah.
creating an environment where people can grow and learn it. That's who they are.
What a good place to be in, right? I know you go home every day and just so excited to know the work that you do, or this, some days may be better than others, but you did
Mm-hmm.
share a story with me that I can kind of recall, and I would love for you to kind of highlight this story a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So we got lucky, right? How did his
Mm-hmm.
journey reflect what New City Kids is all about? Like that
Mm-hmm.
transformation.
Mm-hmm.
What did we, what did it teach about grace, growth, and second chances?
Mm-hmm. I would say grace, growth, second chances, and relationships.
Mm,
Because we know when we talked about being really honest and true with
mhm,
our youth, Lucky lost his job at New City Kids, but he didn't lose his relationship. And so Lucky was a young man in 2016 who came to New City Kids, and he went very smart, and he came in as a English teacher for the younger kids. And what occurred is over the summer he went home to Haiti where a war broke out, and he wasn't able to get back for like 4 months. And when he got back, he had gotten placement into one of the more prestigious public schools in New Jersey. But when he got back, he had lost that, and he was in a school that wasn't as progressive, and he kind of lost his way a little bit. And he was working at New City Kids, and he kind of he couldn't keep himself motivated, and he actually lost the job at New City Kids. So he was no longer a teen life intern with us.
mhm,
But one of the things about New City Kids is that everybody has a one-on-one, meaning that everybody has a mentor, somebody that they work with. And so he kept meeting with his mentor, even though he was no longer working at New City Kids. So much so that was so valuable to him that he even volunteered for one of our events. And so he kept that
wow.
momentum. He still had that adult that was encouraging him in his life. And so what occurred was that he did finally come back to New City Kids. He ended up deciding, he worked really hard on his SAT, really hard. He got accepted in about 7 colleges, and he is doing extremely well. He's now working. He's our alumni, but he's a senior at Southern California, and he's a finance and international relations major. He's just doing extremely well. But so what's important for us is relationship. That even when we had to give him a tough answer, like you can't work here because you're not doing what you need to do, we understand why. That we didn't let him go fully, right? We kept the relationship with him. And he even said that New City Kids was more than a job, it was a journey for him. Yeah.
That's so good. You could literally bottle that up and show donors,
Mm-hmm.
what that moment. That's so
Mm-hmm.
good. And what's your hope for every lucky out there
Mm-hmm.
watching or even listening this right
Yeah.
now?
That they reach their full potential, that they are everything that their heart desires, that they have for themselves, that if they're at a point where they can't see that, because sometimes things get
Hmm.
foggy and they can't see that New City Kids is there to step in and to help pull that purpose out of them, with them, along with them, in
Hmm.
partnership, so they see their greatness, whatever that is. If that's being a
Hmm.
veterinarian tech, if that's being working on Wall Street, I mean, whatever that is for them, that they
Yeah.
find their joy in what they do.
That's it. Yeah. You got there's no reason to go chase anybody else's dream. What is your
Right.
dream?
Absolutely.
So I love that you talked about that. And when I kind of go back to the nonprofit space, where you also stand out to me was that most people don't really link nonprofit with AI. really
Hmm.
nonprofit seems to always kind of drag on innovation, but
Hmm.
you're doing it. What made
Hmm.
you start exploring tech in this space?
It's really, I won't take any real credit for it. I think it's my staff. You bring good people in who are
Mm,
innovative in their thinking. You want to hear from folks. You don't want people just to work for you, but you want to hear from them, their ideas. And so we've used AI as for idea generation. We've also used it for guidance, like with getting ideas with grants and those
mhm.
things. And so it's my staff who really is on the cutting edge of really bringing that into the organization.
If the Hart Hustle podcast has ever sparked any idea or made you think differently, do us a favor. Make sure to guys share this, post it on LinkedIn, or even text that nonprofit friend that you just have. Whatever works, this is what keeps the conversation going and allows us to just grow this community together. Seriously, we appreciate you.
I love it. And you called AI a co-pilot, and ever since you said
Hmm.
that, I mean, Microsoft actually owns the
Hmm.
name co-pilot,
Hmm.
but I always tell people now, like, yeah, it is a co-pilot. It
Hmm.
is a passenger in your car.
Right.
So because it is true, people think that AI is really going to replace you. No, someone
Hmm.
that understands AI will
Right.
replace you, right?
Right.
So like people just kind of got the wrong message there. But
Right.
when it comes to things internally and externally, is there anything else that you feel like if you guys can use AI to do something,
Hmm.
automate something, or help you, maybe it's communicate better? What would you love AI to actually do in your space?
Hmm. I think more of communicate our message, right?
Mm,
So, because everybody learns and understands differently. And I think AI has the ability to be able to get your message out in different ways and give you suggestions about that. So I think that is one of the things that I think is important as we're looking to share what we do, across the US and everywhere else. Like we want to make sure that our messages are clear and concise and that we can get them out.
Cindy, I never asked anybody this, but it just came to mind just sitting
Hmm.
here thinking about how we're having this conversation on AI. But
Hmm.
do you think AI could actually free us up to be more human in how we serve?
I think so. I think it can take away from some of the minutia, the smaller things, the things we get caught up with, trying to write the perfect email, trying to make sure that our point is getting across. And we spend an hour and a half in something that, somebody, AI can come in, co-pilot, right? It's
Yeah.
walk beside you, so to speak, and get that done quicker so that we can be freed up to do more of the creativity.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
definitely agree, man. It's just so crazy how people are still living in this fear. I get it,
Hmm.
something new, something uncomfortable,
Hmm.
but I definitely do agree with what you're saying.
Hmm.
When you think about everything you've experienced from pre-med to CEO,
Hmm.
what's your biggest leadership lesson thus far?
Trust yourself.
You're
Yeah.
so good. You're so good, Cindy. You're so
I don't know
good.
about that, but that's it's a journey. When they say it's a leadership journey, it's a leadership journey.
Yeah.
If you growing and developing, and you have to know what you know, and you have to trust yourself. And sometimes it's a lot of book knowledge, but sometimes it's in you knowing what you should do. And at the end of the day, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you have to know that you've trusted yourself in your decision making.
What keeps you so fired up? Even I'm pretty sure you have hard days, but what is
Hmm.
that thing that because what I see a lot of leaders do is that they're pouring into others a lot of the times and
Hmm.
no one's pouring into them,
Hmm.
right? It creates those hard moments in our lives. But
Hmm.
what keeps you even on an empty cup keep just going?
Yeah. It's the youth. We hear this a lot, right? That youth are our future, and where
True.
we're going. And when you start to have real conversations with youth, you know that they're thinking a lot deeper than people always want to give them, like that give them credit for. Sorry about that.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just like they actually think about life in the world. And so if you talk to them, you'll hear their ideas. And so what keeps me going is that they are our future. And so
Hmm.
if you have some conversations with these youth, you'll find out that we're not, people say, oh, we don't know what they're going to do, like who's going to be running the government, what's going to be happening with, these youth don't care, or these youth don't. No, they are very thoughtful. They are
Yeah.
thinking. They are very active. They are listening, and they're thinking about what they would do in that seat. And some of them are doing things right now to make a difference.
No, I 100% agree with that. I am part of the foundation at my old high school, and
Mm-hmm.
there's this young man. He's 17 years old. Has brought, I think, raised $20,000 to bring like a Holocaust museum to the school to give that
Wow.
education. There's like this property that is so many years old, and now the school system is trying to buy it, but it's for the community. Like he's so involved,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting here like, man, this dude's only 17 years old,
Mm-hmm.
but he's
Right.
so involved with what's happening in the community and what's happening long term.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that you want to kind of bring into these nonprofits, and
Absolutely.
I would challenge any leader that is sitting with the same board for the last 5 to 10 years. You got to
Mm-hmm.
change it up. You got to diversify, because there's so many young, talented people that I think are
Absolutely.
great in the nonprofit space.
Mm-hmm.
One, I think there's this stigma on what a nonprofit really is. And then
Mm-hmm.
also when you join a board, I've joined a board where I didn't feel heard. I didn't feel, I felt like I was just taking up a seat,
Mm-hmm.
per se. But I'm someone that's active. How are we making
Mm-hmm.
changes? We're looking
Right.
long term. So I kind of love that you guys within your own systems are creating that, right? Some of those people that are
Absolutely.
working within New City, they will
Yes.
be on the board. They will
Yes.
be your next CEOs and your next,
They
I love
are.
that. I love
They
that.
are. Some of our staff were actually students. We have a staff member who was 5 years old in New City Kids, and they now are in a director position at New City Kids.
There we go.
We have board members that were youth at New City Kids, and now they are full families, PhDs, master's degrees, sitting on our board of directors.
Love it.
So, yeah, they are extremely valuable to us in the work.
Cindy, why is now the right time for people to get involved with what New City Kids is doing in the mission?
hmm Because we are focused forward. We are focused on what's next. We are focused not only on what's happening, right? Because we're bringing youth in, we're hearing their stories, we're helping them to grow and develop. But it's not for us, it's for the next. It's like what's happening next and making
Yeah.
sure that we are developing. We have a chance to help to develop these leaders into what, we need in this world moving forward. So what we do is extremely valuable because this is the next generation.
Eh, Do you have a small act of love that can really spark a big change?
An act of love is, I would say, within our program would be to, you know what, very few people, I think people don't feel seen and heard. And I think providing an opportunity where people can be seen and people can be heard, their voice is heard, So you may not have the answer, but you
Mhm.
but you listened. Not just you hear, but no, I listen. I hear. I hear you. Like that's
Mm.
resonating. So I think that is it. That we give a platform for kids to be seen and to be heard.
Yeah. That's so good. I was actually talking to a leader earlier today, and just talking about when it comes to our youth as parents,
Mhm.
it's get off the phone,
Mhm.
and spend that
Mhm.
time. And when you're
Mhm.
talking to them, look at them in their eyes,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things the conversation that we're having, New City Kid is doing, but I think it also comes into our parenting style for those that are
Mhm.
listening. We're in a space where, yeah, phone, maybe we're making a lot of money on
Mhm.
because our phones, right? We're content creators, but at
Mhm.
some point we have to realize that our kids do want to be seen,
Mhm.
heard. And I
Mhm.
think long term, what it does, it really helps that child come back home and know where home is.
Love it.
And because I was one that I didn't feel heard or seen or
Mhm.
loved. And I
Mhm.
tell you what, I see the way that I have my relationship with my mom, which is
Mhm.
very normal. I see her maybe like, I talk to her maybe once a month. She
Mhm.
used to live down the street, and I've seen her once every 3, 4 months. But that's just what's kind of built at home. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And
Mhm.
so we got to be very mindful when you talk about heard and seen, how
Mhm.
that really impacts the future of your relationship with your child.
Yes.
So that is so good that you kind of brought that in, because
Mhm.
yes, so many kids will tell you, I just don't feel heard or
Yep.
seen. The
Yeah.
lack of confidence starts to kind of dwindle down a little bit. So I love
Mhm.
the first thing you mentioned that I remember was shake the hand, look in your
Mhm.
eyes, tell you
Yep.
who they are.
Mhm.
Because how many times do we see kids walk into rooms with their head down? No,
Mhm.
walk up, head high.
Right.
You are somebody.
Right. Absolutely.
So I,
Yep.
I, I do love that. We're about to start wrapping up, but where do people get more? involved, whether it's just
Mm-hmm.
information, donations? Do you guys have the website? What is the
Yep.
website? Social media platforms? What are those social
Mm-hmm.
media platforms?
So we do have a website. Our website is New City www of course newcitykids.org, and we actually have our we have Instagram, and we also have uh, Instagram, Facebook, all of those social media outlets that you can find New City Kids on. Some of it
Mhm.
will say New City Kids Grand Rapids, or New City Kids Detroit, or New City Kids Patterson, or New City Kids Jersey City. But with New City Kids, we are on all the
I
social
love it.
media platforms.
Yeah, and you have 4 now. Is
Hmm.
the goal long term to have more locations
Yeah,
throughout?
we actually have we're in 4 cities, 7 sites. So we
Okay.
just launched a new site in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We have 3 sites in Jersey City. We have one in Patterson, New Jersey, and one in Detroit. So we're looking to do more.
When you took over the location you're at, where were you guys at? Did you guys already have these in place, or was this kind of growing with you at the helm, if at all?
Yeah. So actually, we had at that time we had 6 sites, and now we have 7.
Copy, copy,
Hmm.
copy.
Hmm.
Well, listen, time's coming to an end, but we still
Hmm.
have that time for that blind question. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is a really good question, actually. Our last leader asked, if you could write a letter to your 16-year-old self, but it
Hmm.
could only have 4 words,
Hmm.
what would it say and why?
Love yourself deeply, comma
Wow.
intentionally.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time. I feel like I interrupted you. Say it again.
Love yourself deeply, comma, intentionally.
There you go. I love it. Nah,
Hmm.
because I know for the people that are watching it, they had to hear without me interrupting you. That was so good. That was so good. And you thought so quick on your feet. That's another great thing about leaders. When it comes to improvising, when it comes to thinking quick on your feet, oh yeah, you got to have that skill. Like
Hmm.
that's one of those you could tell really the different leaders at that level as well. Somebody that can just think quick on their feet, no stress. And the way that you answer that was so good. What is your question to the next leader?
Hmm. My question to the next leader is, um, what would you do? This is an oldie but goodie, I think. What would you do if you were not afraid?
That's good. That's a good one. Okay. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. And Cindy, as we wrap up, is there any other words that you have for those that may be watching that need to know a message from a leader like yourself, whether it's our youth, whether it's our parents? Because I
Hmm.
think when it comes to our kids, we all play a part in this, right? It
Hmm.
takes a village to raise these kids,
Hmm.
and maybe there's an aunt out there that just needs to hear
Hmm.
something. What is that
Yeah.
message?
It would be intentionality. It would be to be intentional about the youth that are in your life, whether you are a parent, a grandparent, or whether you are a youth. Be intentional about what you do. Be
Mhm.
intentional about how you love, who you love, and how you love them. Be intentional about loving yourself. I think that's important. People, when you have so much negativity around you, it's just important to know that
Mhm.
people care, and that
Yep.
we let them know that.
I love that. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. If you guys are still watching, make sure that you guys do like, subscribe, and just tag someone down below that just may need to hear this. Cindy, it was a pleasure having you here. We
Thanks.
thank you so much. Hope that we get to do this again
Yes.
later down the road. And this has been the Hart Hustle Podcast. We'll catch you
All
guys on
right.
the next episode.
Thank you. Take
Bye.
care.